Prosecutors, on the other hand, said Diddy was not sorry and that his apology was phony and that there was some serious harm done to the victims of this case. Like you said, they wanted a sentence of at least 11 years. Ultimately, we know a sentence has now been shared with the court of 4 years behind bars for Sean Diddy Combs.
We once worked together a long time ago. They're not friends now. They don't like each other. And yeah, 50 has taken every shot, especially when Diddy has been down.
Here's a cleaner, tighter, and more engaging rewrite of your script with better flow, clarity, and impact. While keeping the core narrative, prosecutors made it clear, in their view, Sean Diddy Combs wasn't remorseful at all. They argued his apology was performative, not genuine, and emphasized the serious harm done to the victims. They pushed for a sentence of at least 11 years. Instead, the court handed down 4 years. That outcome alone sparked debate. But it didn't exist in isolation, because surrounding Diddy's conviction is a much bigger storm involving Jay-Z, 50 Cent, and Nicki Minaj. A collision of legal wins, public allegations.
I think a lot of people thought that he was just joking around. It turns out he's not. So this is actually a real project that's being made under his G-Unit.
And narrative warfare. The legal win that didn't clear the air at the same time all of this unfolded. Jay-Z secured a major courtroom victory. A long-running paternity case was shut down, and the plaintiff was ordered to pay over $119,000 in legal fees. On paper, it was decisive, the kind of ruling that should end a story. But it didn't. Because almost immediately after that decision, newly released documents tied to Jeffrey Epstein surfaced. And within those files, an anonymous tip mentioned Jay-Z alongside names like Harvey Weinstein. There's a critical detail. The Department of Justice clearly states that such tips can be false or unverified. But in the court of public opinion, that disclaimer barely matters. Once a name appears in a document like that, it sticks. 50 Cent's next move while the legal system closed one chapter. He's already proven what he can do with documentary storytelling, using interviews, archival footage, and relentless promotion to shape narratives. Now he's openly stated that Jay-Z is next. This isn't just social media trolling, it's strategy. 50 Cent has hinted that his upcoming project will go even further than his work on Diddy. Using the same production approach, the same access to sources, and the same willingness to fund voices willing to speak out, he's already
competitive.
Competitiveness.
All right, so you and Diddy, you and Puff cool?
No, I don't really rock with him.
Okay, damn. All right, I didn't know what that meant. All right, okay.
begun connecting dots. Not in courtrooms, but in public memory. The third front, Nicki Minaj. At the same time, Nicki Minaj has escalated a separate conflict into something far more unpredictable. It started as a financial dispute, with claims that Jay-Z owes her between $100 million and $200 million tied to the sale of Tidal. But it didn't stop there. She's made a series of explosive allegations, including claims of surveillance, sabotage, and industry interference. She's also posted highly controversial and unverified statements tying Jay-Z to broader conspiratorial ideas. There's no confirmed evidence behind these claims, but that hasn't stopped them from spreading, amplified by her massive audience. And that's the point. She doesn't need proof to dominate the conversation, just a platform. A crisis beyond the courtroom. What makes this situation unique is that none of these fronts rely on the same evidence, or even connect directly. But they don't need to. They share timing, they share visibility, and they share a target. The paternity case is closed, but unanswered questions remain. The Epstein files include disclaimers, but the association exists. 50 Cent controls when his documentary drops and how it lands. Nicki Minaj continues to escalate with no signs of backing down, and none of that can be stopped by a judge's ruling. The Diddy factor, meanwhile, Sean Diddy Combs remains a central figure, even from behind bars. He's apologized publicly, calling his past behavior shameful. But reports of misconduct in prison quickly followed, creating contradictions that kept his name in headlines. His projected release, currently set for 2028, means this story isn't ending anytime soon. Because when he returns, the same questions will still exist. Who knew what? Who stayed silent? Who stayed close? The bigger pattern. This is no longer about proving a single allegation true or false. It's about a pattern. Every legal victory triggers a new wave of scrutiny. Every closed case opens another conversation, winning in.
With the series, with the film.
I mean, I think the intention is to give a more full-bodied experience to what happened, you know, from the people that agreed to sit down and to participate. And I feel like the film asks a lot of questions, you know, maybe more questions are asked than answers given.
So the real question isn't whether one battle was won, it's this. What does winning even mean when the story never stops evolving? Here's a more extended, deeper, and more dramatic rewrite with stronger pacing, added tension, and sharper storytelling. Prosecutors didn't mince words when it came to Sean Diddy Combs. They told the court his apology wasn't real, that it was calculated, rehearsed, and empty. In their eyes, the damage to victims was undeniable, and they pushed hard for a sentence of at least 11 years. The judge didn't go that far. Instead, Diddy was sentenced to 4 years behind bars, a decision that immediately divided opinion. Some saw it as accountability, others saw it as leniency, but either way, that sentence didn't close the story. It widened it. The ripple effect nobody expected, because at the exact moment Diddy's legal fate was being sealed, another major development hit, this time involving Jay-Z. A long-running paternity case against him, one that had dragged on for over a decade, was finally shut down. The court didn't just dismiss it, it sanctioned the plaintiff, ordering her to pay more than $119,000 in legal fees. Legally, that's a knockout win, the kind that should end speculation, the kind that should restore control. But instead of closing the door, it opened 3 new ones. The Epstein shadow. Within days of that ruling, newly released files connected to Jeffrey Epstein began circulating. Buried inside thousands of pages was an anonymous tip, one that mentioned Jay-Z alongside Harvey Weinstein and Diddy. Now, there's an important reality here. The Department of Justice explicitly warns that anonymous submissions can be false, misleading, or completely fabricated. But public perception doesn't operate on legal standards. It operates on association. And once a name appears in a document like that, verified or not, it becomes searchable, repeatable, and impossible to fully erase. That's the difference between legal truth and narrative reality.
One could watch this and think that you really hate Sean Combs.
Why would they be thinking that?
Because of the things that you post on Instagram,
Yeah,
because
this,
of the...
Look at this, and let's stop for a second and do say that I hated him enough to hire his kids. And we've never done anything to each other. So it's just competitive energy and things that you say about other artists while you're in hip-hop culture.
50 Cent is building something bigger while that conversation was heating up. 50 Cent was already moving. He didn't just react to Diddy's downfall, he capitalized on it. Through documentaries, interviews, and relentless social media pressure, he kept the story alive long after the courtroom headlines faded. He turned moments into narratives, and narratives into momentum. Now he's made it clear, Jay-Z is next. And this isn't casual. This is calculated. 50 Cent has said outright that his upcoming documentary will go even further than the one centered around Diddy. Same formula, same team, same access to people willing to talk, especially those who never spoke before. He's already laying the groundwork publicly, posting comparisons, referencing
I don't have no felonies, I'm not crazy and none of that. It's like, I just want the truth, and it's so hard to get it from the courts. And it seems like Jay-Z don't want to say anything, so, I don't want to see him go down for something that you could have just got taken care of. That's it.
Past incidents and subtly connecting dots that haven't been formally connected in court. He's not proving a case, he's building a storyline. Nicki Minaj changes the energy. Then there's Nicki Minaj, and her role shifts everything. What began as a financial dispute tied to the sale of Tidal quickly escalated into something much more unpredictable. She claims she's owed between $100 million and $200 million, a number that aligns with the platform's reported $297 million sale. That alone would be explosive, but she didn't stop there. She's made a series of claims that go far beyond business, alleging surveillance, interference, and deliberate attempts to silence her. She said her music is being held back, that her accounts have been compromised. And then came the posts that pushed everything into another realm entirely. Statements widely viewed as extreme, unverified, and deeply controversial. There's no confirmed evidence supporting those claims. But that hasn't slowed the conversation, because influence doesn't require proof, it requires reach. And she has it. 3 fronts, 1 target. What's happening now isn't one scandal. It's 3 separate pressures hitting the same figure at the same time. A legal victory that didn't resolve underlying case. Not in courtrooms, but in public memory. The 3rd front. Nicki Minaj. At the same time, Nicki Minaj has escalated a separate conflict into something far more unpredictable. It started as a financial dispute, with claims that Jay-Z owes her between $100 million and $200 million tied to the sale of Tidal. But it didn't stop there. She's made a series of explosive allegations, including claims of surveillance, sabotage, and industry interference. She's also posted highly controversial and unverified statements tying Jay-Z to broader conspiratorial ideas. There's no confirmed evidence behind these claims, but that hasn't stopped them from spreading, amplified by a massive audience. And that's the point. She doesn't need proof to dominate the conversation, just a platform. A crisis beyond the courtroom. What makes this situation unique is that none of these fronts rely on the same evidence, or even connect directly.
I mean, why waste my time?
And sometimes you respond to something that brings way more attention to it, too.
That too, and it's just, it goes into another space, and then you just like, oh, y'all not listening to me.
But then you'll have somebody else say that'll say that.
But they don't need to. They share timing, they share visibility, and they share a target. The paternity case is closed, but unanswered questions remain. The Epstein files include disclaimers, but the association exists. 50 Cent controls when his documentary drops, and how it lands. Nicki Minaj continues to escalate with no signs of backing down, and none of that can be stopped by a judge's ruling. The Diddy factor, meanwhile, Sean Diddy Combs remains a central figure, even from behind bars. He's apologized publicly, calling his past behavior shameful. But reports of misconduct in prison quickly followed, creating contradictions that kept his name in headlines. His projected release, currently set for 2200, means this story isn't ending anytime soon. Because when he returns, the same questions will still exist. Who knew what? Who stayed silent? Who stayed close? The bigger pattern. This is no longer about proving a single allegation true or false. It's about a pattern. Every legal victory triggers a new wave of scrutiny. Every closed case opens another conversation. Winning in.
His sister-in-law on camera. What's her name? Solange. You gotta imagine, the feds ain't step in and do nothing. The feds don't care about you getting your ass whooped.
But you can't win against everything at once. Diddy's presence still lingers even from prison, Sean. Diddy Combs remains part of the equation. He stood in court and apologized, calling his past actions shameful and claiming he had changed. But shortly after, reports surfaced suggesting he had already violated prison rules. Those reports were denied, but again, timing matters more than truth in moments like this. Because once headlines hit, they shape perception. And perception doesn't wait for clarification. With a projected release date currently set for 22/8, Diddy's story isn't over, and when he returns, the questions tied to his past, and the people around him, will return with him. The real battlefield has changed. What this situation exposes is something bigger than any one allegation. The battlefield has shifted. This isn't about courtrooms anymore. It's about narratives. It's about timing. It's about who controls the story and how long they can keep it alive. 50 Cent understands that. Nicki Minaj is fueling it. And the internet is amplifying all of it. The pattern that keeps repeating every time a case closes, something new opens. Every time a
Me on that, like
He was upset. He was upset on that record. Somebody pissed him off that day.
but it was just the conversations me and Jay have. He's so like intrigued by where my life is at because it's almost like he's seeing it happen again for somebody else. So he was like, I'm just gonna tell you all I've learned. You know, and it was like a beautiful moment. I've really never heard Jay get that personal in a long time.
Victory is declared, a new doubt is introduced. Every time silence is chosen, someone else speaks louder. And over time, those moments start to blur together, until winning and losing stop looking different. Where this leaves everything, Jay-Z has legal wins on record. That part is real. But outside of court, the pressure hasn't gone anywhere. It's evolving, expanding, accelerating. Because the question isn't just whether any single claim is true, it's whether the constant repetition of those claims, across documentaries, social media, and public conversation, creates something that feels true. And that leads to the real tension at the center of all of this. If every victory triggers a new wave of